What if the stories we tell ourselves about World War II, about the liberation of Europe, well, what if they missed something? Something profound, brutal, maybe even morally complex.
Challenging thought, isn't it?
It really is. What if the cost of that victory, the one we celebrate, was actually far greater, far more ambiguous than we usually admit?
That's precisely the kind of uncomfortable question Antony Beevor forces us to confront in his book D-Day, The Battle for Normandy.
Right, published back in 2009. And it's not just about June 6, 1944, is it? He goes much broader.
Exactly. He covers the entire Normandy campaign. So from those initial landings right through to the liberation of Paris in late August. It's a huge canvas.
Okay, and before we really get into the weeds of this amazing book, we should mention you are experiencing a unique two-host AI conversation powered by Google's NotebookLM. We're using it for a deeper, more dynamic book critique.
And Beevor's central argument, his main thesis, it really does challenge a lot of the, standard Allied narrative.
How so?
Well, he basically argues the battle for Normandy was far more brutal, much more complex, and ultimately more consequential than those popular accounts often suggest.
So more than just the heroic landings.
Much more. He emphasizes things like the horrific suffering of French civilians. I mean, truly horrific.
Okay.
And the sheer ferocity of the fighting. He actually compares it at times to the Eastern Front.
Wow, that's a big claim. The Eastern Front is legendary for its brutality.
It is. And he also doesn't shy away from the strategic mistakes, the miscalculations, even the personal rivalries among the Allied commanders themselves.
So he's kind of dismantling that myth of D-Day being this sort of inevitable, smooth success.
Pretty much. He highlights the scale of what the Allies achieved, no doubt. But he forces us to look at the tremendous cost. The cost in lives, yes, but also, you could say, in moral capital.
And how does he build this case? What's his approach?
Well, the book itself is what you'd call narrative history. It blends the big picture, the strategic analysis, with these incredibly vivid personal stories.
From soldiers.
From soldiers, definitely, on both sides. But also, crucially, from French civilians caught right in the middle of it all. And it's all based on really deep archival research. We're talking 6 countries' worth of archives.
Wow.
Unpublished letters, diaries, interviews done right after combat. It's incredibly thorough. He doesn't just state things. He shows you through the eyes of the people who were there.
That sounds like that bottom-up style of military history, which I always find so powerful. You get the general, sure, but you also get the grunt's perspective, the civilian's terror.
Exactly. It makes it feel much more real, much more human.
Let's dig into some of those key claims then. You mentioned civilian suffering. That sounds like a major focus.
Oh, absolutely. And this is where his evidence is just devastating. He points out, for example, that more French civilians died from Allied bombing and shelling during the Normandy campaign than British civilians died in the entire Blitz.
Wait, say that again. More French civilians from Allied bombs in Normandy than British civilians in the whole Blitz.
That's the statistic he presents, backed up by archival research and casualty counts. It's staggering when you hear it put like that.
It completely reframes what liberation meant on the ground for those people. What kind of details does he use to illustrate that beyond the numbers?
He uses personal accounts, letters, diaries, people describing their homes just pulverized, towns turned to rubble. Imagine hearing Allied bombers overhead, the supposed liberators, and just praying they don't drop their load on your house.
The psychological impact must have been immense.
Unimaginable. It wasn't just the destruction, it was the constant fear, the trauma inflicted by the side that was meant to be saving them. He really brings that out.
And the ferocity of combat. You mentioned the comparison to the Eastern Front. How does he justify that?
He looks at the numbers again. Monthly casualty rates for both Allied and German divisions stuck in Normandy were incredibly high. In some periods, he argues, the attrition rates actually surpassed what was happening on the Eastern Front.
Seriously, that intense.
Yes. These aren't just anecdotes. They're based on military records, medical reports, that sort of thing. And he pairs this data with soldiers' accounts of the fighting in the Bocage, the hedgerow country. Close quarters, constant ambushes, snipers, a real meat grinder week after week.
Okay, this is fascinating, but also quite dark. What about the command failures? You said he's critical of Allied leadership, like Montgomery.
He is, yes. He argues Montgomery, in particular, tended to overpromise and underdeliver, especially around the objective of taking the city of Cannon quickly.
Yeah.
It just didn't happen as planned.
Which goes against the usual heroic portrayal. What's the evidence there? Internal documents.
Exactly. He uses diaries, private letters exchanged between the commanders, official reports. You see the tensions bubbling up. Bradley's frustration with Montgomery's perceived caution, for instance. Monty's own optimistic, sometimes almost misleading public statements versus the reality on the ground.
So it wasn't one big happy family leading the charge.
Far from it, according to Beevor. There were significant disagreements, personality clashes, communication breakdowns. He also really emphasizes the moral toll on the troops themselves, the psychological strain, the trauma, using their own words from letters and later reflections. It shows victory wasn't clean, even for the victors.
And then there's the sheer complexity of the whole operation, right? Logistics, weather, innovation.
Absolutely. He goes into detail about things like the logistical nightmare of supplying the armies across the channel. The famous Mulberry harbors, those artificial ports, were ingenious, yes, but also vulnerable, damaged by storms.
Right.
He uses operational records, engineering reports to show this constant struggle just to get fuel, ammo, reinforcements to the front lines through devastated French ports and roads. It highlights how victory depended on so much more than just fighting spirit.
It sounds like he really tries to show all sides, all the different experiences, which brings up this idea of empathy, like the golden rule, trying to understand everyone involved.
Yes, he makes a conscious effort, including the French civilians, as we've said, but also conscripted German soldiers, ordinary Allied troops, not just focusing on the generals making pronouncements.
Which is commendable. But could you argue that even with that effort, the story is still told mainly through an Allied lens? Does the French civilian perspective get fully explored on its own terms?
That's a really fair critique, actually. While Beevor powerfully conveys their suffering, some might say their voices, their agency, their specific cultural experience of occupation and liberation could be even more central. It's often presented in relation to the military campaign.
Right, as a consequence rather than the primary subject.
Sort of. Beevor himself throws out that challenge, asking us, how would I feel if my home were destroyed in the name of my liberation? It's a potent question. But maybe a deeper dive would require even more focus on their narratives, their long-term processing of it all.
It makes you think. How does this complex, often grim picture square with, say, civic ideals? If we look at it through the lens of something foundational, like the Preamble to the U.S. Constitution, starting with form a more perfect union.
Well, the book shows the Allied effort towards union, towards cooperation, definitely. But Beevor underscores that it was far from perfect. Those inter-Allied tensions, the national rivalries, simmering just below the surface.
Yeah.
It shows a union under constant strain.
Not the seamless alliance often portrayed. Okay, what about established justice?
That's a tough one Beevor tackles directly. On one hand, the liberation from Nazi tyranny was clearly about establishing justice, a moral necessity. But on the other hand, the immense civilian casualties caused by Allied actions represent a profound injustice, right? He shows the tragic paradox.
Bombing towns to liberate them, yeah.
Like St. Lo, just flattened. Justice for whom and at what cost?
And ensure domestic tranquility. Well, for the Normans, it was the opposite, wasn't it? Total chaos.
Absolutely. Months of terror and destruction, not tranquility.
Provide for the common defense.
The book clearly outlines the massive military effort for common defense against Nazism. But it consistently makes you question the cost of that defense, the human and moral price tag attached to total war.
Which ties into promote the general welfare, whose welfare was prioritized.
Exactly. Beevor forces you to ask that uncomfortable question. Was it Allied military goals or the immediate welfare of the French civilians caught in the middle? The priorities often seem tragically misaligned.
And finally, secure the blessings of liberty.
Here, Beevor is brutally honest about the paradox. Liberty was achieved, but it arrived through incredible destruction and a form of occupation itself. He highlights that the blessings came at this profound, often unacknowledged cost to the very people being liberated.
It's a deeply sobering perspective. It really challenges any simple triumphalist view of the campaign.
It absolutely does. Liberty wasn't free and it wasn't clean. It arrived amid fire and ruin for many.
Thinking about these heavy ethical questions, these costs, it really underscores the need for critical reflection. And, that's something we focus on at Mindful Moments, our YouTube channel. We offer AI book analyses, summaries, critiques, really aiming to inspire that kind of reflection and rational thought like we're doing here, encouraging you to explore these vital discussions further.
That reflective process is key. And if we think about Beevor's book using a kind of framework for evaluating knowledge itself, call it an Adlerian epistemic lens, moving from opinion up to wisdom.
Okay, how does that apply here? What's opinion versus knowledge in Beevor's work?
Well, the opinion level might include Beevor's interpretations of commanders' personalities.
Yeah.
For instance, he suggests Montgomery might have had an Adlerian inferiority complex, overcompensating for perceived weaknesses.
Ah, like armchair psychology.
A bit, yeah. It's reasoned speculation based on behavior and records, but it's still inference about their inner state, not directly provable fact. It's his interpretation.
Got it. But the knowledge part sounds incredibly solid from what you've said.
Oh, absolutely. The foundation of the book is verifiable facts. Casualty numbers, dates, troop movements, direct quotes from first-hand accounts. His archival work is top-notch, ensuring really strong empirical support for the main narrative. He's meticulous.
So he nails the what happened. What about understanding, connecting the dots?
That's arguably where the book shines brightest. He masterfully synthesizes all these different threads, the strategic decisions, the logistical nightmares, the personal bravery, the impact of weather or terrain. He weaves it into a coherent narrative that helps you understand why things unfolded the way they did, the cause and effect.
Right, making sense of the chaos. Which leads us to wisdom. What's the deeper wisdom Beevor offers?
I think it lies in his reflections on the bigger picture. The staggering human cost, yes, but also the fragility of the concept of liberation itself and the lasting impact this battle had on everything from politics to how we remember war.
Especially regarding the French civilians.
Exactly. His focus on their suffering and the moral gray areas of even a necessary war like World War II, that feels like genuine wisdom. He pushes the reader beyond simple heroics to grapple with the ethical weight of military victory. It's about seeing the tragedy within the triumph.
So, thinking about the logic of his overall argument, is it consistent? Does it hold together?
Generally, yes. The causal links between decisions, actions, and outcomes are clearly laid out and well supported. The one potential weakness, as we mentioned, is relying on psychological inference for some commander motivations.
The post hoc ergo propter hoc risk. Assuming cause just because one thing followed another.
Precisely.
Okay.
Inferring, say, that a personality flaw directly caused a specific tactical failure when it might have been just one factor among many. It's a subtle trap.
Okay, but that central thesis, Normandy, as both triumph and tragedy, that stands up to scrutiny based on the evidence he presents.
Overwhelmingly so, yes. The evidence powerfully supports that duality. But it does leave you pondering.
Pondering what?
Well, that difficult question. Could the Allies have achieved their military goals with fewer civilian casualties? Could tactics have been different? Beevor doesn't necessarily answer that definitively. It's maybe unanswerable. But his book certainly forces you to ask it.
That difficult balance between military necessity and ethical responsibility.
Exactly.
And looking long-term, what does Beevor suggest about the wisdom gained or the enduring consequences? This wasn't just a 90-day battle in isolation.
No, his wisdom really comes through in showing the lasting legacy, how Normandy shaped not just the end of the war, but post-war Europe. The way civilians view armies, collective memory, it all ripples outwards.
So the scars were deep, both for the civilians and the soldiers.
Absolutely. Influencing national identities, alliances, everything. He really prompts us to weigh that military need against the ethical burden. A tension still incredibly relevant today, isn't it? In any modern conflict.
It certainly is. Okay, let's try to sum up what are the book's absolute core strengths.
I'd say, number one, the narrative power. It's just brilliantly told, weaving the grand strategy with intensely personal, often harrowing stories. Number two, the research depth, pulling from so many international archives, giving voice to allies, Germans, and civilians.
And his willingness to challenge myths.
Yes, that's crucial. Challenging the simple triumphalist narrative, confronting the moral complexities head-on. And finally, it's just very well written. Clear, engaging prose that makes this complex history accessible.
Okay. And the weaknesses or areas where maybe it could be different, if not necessarily weak?
Well, as discussed, some of the psychological profiles of commanders feel a bit speculative, a minor practical point. Some find the maps could be clearer, given the detailed maneuvers described. And while civilian suffering is central, you could argue civilian agency, their own actions and perspectives beyond victimhood, is less developed than the military aspects. And perhaps the ethical reflections, while powerful, could be woven more systematically throughout.
That seems like a very fair assessment. So, the book is powerful, maybe definitive in many ways, but it still leaves us with questions, doesn't it? Things to explore further.
Definitely. Key unresolved questions linger. Could Allied tactics have genuinely minimized civilian deaths without hindering the military aims? That's a huge one.
Right.
Also, how did that whole experience, being occupied, then liberated through such violence, How did that reshape French identity, European identity, in the longer run, beyond just the immediate post-war years?
And the lessons for today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What does Normandy teach us about modern wars of liberation, where civilians are inevitably caught in the middle? How do we honestly confront the costs embedded in our own narratives of conflict?
Those are big, important questions. If people listen to this and want to dig deeper, maybe explore some of those alternative perspectives, where should they look?
Well, for primary sources, archives like the Imperial War Museums have incredible collections of diaries, letters, official reports. For different angles, look for works by French historians focusing specifically on the civilian experience or German military accounts. Sociological studies on post-war memory are also revealing.
Any specific books to compare it with?
Sure, Max Hastings' Overlord offers a classic, slightly different take. Carlo Dess's Decision in Normandy is another major work. And for a strong French perspective, Olivier Wiviorca's Normandy. The Landings to the Liberation of Paris is excellent.
Great recommendations. So, bringing it all together, what's a final verdict on Antony Beevor's D-Day, the Battle for Normandy?
It's simply a masterful work. Meticulously researched, ethically engaged, incredibly well written. It functions both as a definitive military history of the campaign and as a deeply provocative meditation on the true costs of liberation.
So it excels on multiple levels, factually, narratively, ethically.
Yes. Its empirical grounding is superb, the narrative synthesis is brilliant, and it forces crucial ethical reflection. It deliberately leaves important questions about war, memory, and moral responsibility open for us, the readers, to grapple with.
And its greatest contribution might be?
Perhaps its refusal of easy heroism. It presents Normandy not just as a victory, but as a profound human tragedy, one with echoes that still resonate today for everyone involved, soldiers, civilians, entire nations.
It forces us to confront those complexities, doesn't it? Even in what's often called the good war. What does that say about how we should approach narratives of conflict today, maybe questioning the truths we think we know?
That feels like the enduring challenge Beevor leaves us with.
Indeed. Now, this critique we've walked through, it hasn't been random. It's been structured using a systematic framework, one designed for precise and comprehensive evaluation. That's what allowed us to analyze Beevor's work across these different layers and hopefully offer you this multifaceted perspective.
It helps to break down such a rich and complex book.
Absolutely. And if these kinds of deep dives into complex topics resonate with you, remember to check out Mindful Moments on our YouTube channel. We've got more AI book analyses and discussions there. You can also find more of our podcasts wherever you usually listen.
Keep exploring, keep thinking.
Definitely. Click the link on screen for the in-depth book analysis. Subscribe, share, purchase via link, and think rationally.